Hello guys and welcome back to TechWolf. Today we are going to do another 40 questions of CompTIA Plus Core 1 of exam which is 220-1201. And these are questions for the latest exam which was released in 2025. And if you are interested in more questions, you can visit my Udemy course. And there I have also 6 practice tests or practice exams which total have 730 questions. 4 practice exams which each has 90 questions, and then 1 practice exam or practice test has 200 questions and 1 has 170 questions. And these are also for the latest exam which is CompTIA Plus Core 1 220-1201. Let's get into the questions. And first question is: a desktop PC fails to power on after a storm, but the outlet works. What's the first component to check? Motherboard BIOS, CPU cooler, RAM modules, power supply unit, or graphics card. And here the correct answer is power supply unit, as a storm may damage the power supply, so checking it ensures power delivery. And next question: a client needs scalable cloud storage for a remote team. Which cloud characteristic supports this? Multi-tenancy, elasticity, dedicated resources, high availability, or shared resources. And for your CompTIA Plus Core 1, especially for this one, which is 220-1201, you should also have a better knowledge about cloud, because this is the exam, one of the first one, which is concentrating or which has largely or more larger than in previous exams concentrating on cloud. And here the correct answer is elasticity, as elasticity allows cloud storage to scale dynamically and it is ideal for varying team needs. And next question: a desktop PC needs 4 TB SATA HDD for video storage. What must be verified before installation? So if you would want to install 4 TB of hard disk drive, what must be verified before this type of installation? CPU core count, motherboard SATA port compatibility, power supply wattage, GPU memory capacity, or BIOS firmware version. And here the correct answer would be motherboard SATA port compatibility, as verifying SATA port compatibility ensures the hard disk drive connects and functions. A technician assigns a static IP to a printer for consistent access. Which protocol reserves the IP on the router? NAT, DNS, DHCP, VLAN, or QoS or quality of service. And here the correct answer would be DHCP reservation, as DHCP reservation assigns a specific IP to the printer's MAC address, ensuring consistency. An Android tablet fails to connect to a corporate Wi-Fi network. The SSID is visible and the password is correct. So this means that if we will check our Wi-Fi connections, we are able to see the provider or Wi-Fi name, which is SSID, and the password is correct. What's the most likely issue to check? Bluetooth interference, incorrect screen brightness, outdated Android version, faulty SIM card, or Wi-Fi band compatibility, 2.4 GHz with 6 GHz. And here the correct answer is we should check Wi-Fi band compatibility, as the tablet may not support the 6 GHz band, so checking compatibility ensures connection. A laptop's display flickers intermittently across applications and resolutions. What is the first troubleshooting step, or what is the first troubleshooting step here? Update the graphics driver, replace the laptop's battery, run a display diagnostic tool, check the display cable connection to the motherboard, or adjust the screen refresh rate. And here the correct answer would be check the display cable connection to the motherboard, as flickering often results from loose display cables addressed by checking the connection. So if we would check this connection, maybe that's all what is causing this trouble, and this is also the easiest solution. A technician sets up a VM or virtual machine to test an application requiring the direct hardware access. Which hypervisor type is best? And here you should also know the types of hypervisor, and there are two major types of hypervisors which you should know. So correct answers are type 1 hypervisor, type 2 hypervisor, cloud-based hypervisor, container-based virtualization, or hybrid hypervisor. And here let's read the question again, and here we are seeing as a technician sets up a virtual machine to test an application requiring a direct hardware access. So straight away we are not talking about any cloud-based hypervisors, as we are talking about hypervisor which is capable of accessing hard metal or directly our computer. And in this scenario, the correct answer is type 1 hypervisor. As type 2 hypervisors, these are usually those which you can install on your operating system. As an example could be VirtualBox, which you are installing, for example, on your Windows environment. This means that is using type 2 hypervisor, where type 1 hypervisors are those which are installing or pretty much integrated directly on the hardware itself, as type 1 hypervisors run directly on hardware, offering better performance for direct access. A technician is installing a CPU into a AM5 socket motherboard. What ensures proper installation? Apply thermal paste to the socket, install the CPU fan before the CPU, set the CPU voltage in BIOS first, remove the motherboard from the case, or align the CPU's pin 1 marker with the socket's marker. And here the correct answer is align CPU's pin 1 marker with the socket's marker, as aligning the pin 1 marker prevents the damage and ensures correct orientation. As you know, if you have been holding in your hand like CPU or central processing unit, there are small kind of needles which need to fit directly into the socket. A small office's Windows 11 PC cannot connect to the internet via Ethernet. The cable is plugged in and the router is operational. What's the first troubleshooting step? And here we are talking about small office Windows 11 PC which cannot connect to the internet via Ethernet. And if we are talking about via Ethernet rather than via Wi-Fi, this means that through cables. So Ethernet is cables, where Wi-Fi is if we are using a Wi-Fi access. So Windows 11 PC or personal computer cannot connect to the internet via cables. The cable is plugged in and the router is operational. What's the first troubleshooting step? Check the Ethernet adapter status in the device manager. Replace the Ethernet cable. We would replace the cable altogether. Restart the router. We would restart the router. Run a ping test to the gateway. This means that we would open CMD or command prompt and we would run a ping test. We would ping our gateway address, which we can find by ipconfig, or update the router firmware, which would be the correct answer here. And the correct answer would be check the Ethernet adapter's status in the device manager, as checking the Ethernet adapter status verifies hardware recognition and driver functionality. A technician is configuring corporate issued iPhone 14 for a new employee under a BYOD or bring your own device policy requiring specific security settings. What's the first step to enforce these settings? Install a third-party antivirus app, configure mobile device management or MDM profiles, update the iOS to the latest version, enable Bluetooth pairing restrictions, or reset the device to factory settings. And here the correct answer would be configure mobile device management or MDM profiles, as MDM profiles enforces security settings like password requirements and app restrictions. A user wants to connect a modern smartphone with a USB-C port to an older car stereo that only has an aux 3.5mm audio jack input for playing music. Which type of adapter or cable is required? A USB-C to USB-A adapter. And even when before you are approaching this question or these answers, you should straight away start thinking that on car we have 3.5mm audio jack, and you should start thinking about what user wants to connect. So he wants to connect a smartphone with USB-C port. So we would need to connect USB-C port to 3.5mm aux audio jack. USB-C to USB-A adapter, USB-C to HDMI adapter, USB-C to Ethernet adapter, USB-C to 3.5mm audio cable or adapter, Bluetooth adapter for the car stereo, or FM transmitter. Which would be the correct answer here? I already, or before we started looking at answers, I already gave you the correct answer. As this is how you should approach these questions, because in some scenarios the question could look very complicated, but if you understand the question, like I'm always mentioning in my videos, first think before you even approach to the answers, try to understand the question. If you will not understand the question fully and you will get more answers, or you will start reading answers, you will just create a house in your head. So don't ever approach the answers before you understand the question or what this question is asking, as otherwise you will just create more chaos in your head. If you will run through the question, you will not understand it, and then you will fill up your head with some answers, and then you will have to start over, and you will just on your real exam be losing time. So better read the question. If you didn't understand it first time, read it one more time. And once you understand the question, only then approach the multi-choice answers. And that will give you much more chance to answer this or that question correctly on your real exam. So here the correct answer is USB-C to 3.5mm audio cable or adapter. As at start I already explained you how I am thinking when I am approaching these types of questions. So first one, we understand what we have and to where we want to connect, and when we understand it, then when we read through answers we straight away are able to get to the correct answer. And in this scenario, USB-C to 3.5mm audio cable or adapter. A USB-C to 3.5mm audio cable or an adapter that converts the USB-C port to the smartphone to a 3.5mm audio jack is required for direct wired audio connection to the car stereo's aux input. And next question, a technician needs to implement a network topology where all devices connect to a central hub or switch. Which topology is this? And you should also know all topologies or network topologies which are out there. And they are all pretty much listed here. Mesh, bus, ring, star, tree, or hybrid. And we are talking about most used even now in our days. This is also the most used topology, and that is a star. As In the start topology, all devices in the network connect to a central hub or switch. This central device manages communication between the connected devices. And like I was mentioning, guys, if you are interested, you can take my full Udemy course. I have there 730 questions for this latest exam, and I will leave all links in description and in first pinned comment of this video. So as you can go to skilltestpro.com and you can also take some tests here, as not all questions are here member questions. You can get absolutely free here also lots of different tests for different examinations for CompTIA, Microsoft, Cisco and many others. Next question. Which of the following is common type of memory used in entry-level network switches for basic packet forwarding and MAC address table storage? DDR4 RAM, SODIMM, SDRAM, ASIC embedded memory, flash memory, or EEPROM? So which one is the correct answer here? And here the correct answer is ASIC embedded memory, as entry-level network switches often have memory embedded with their application-specific integrated circuits. So ASIC stands for application-specific integrated circuits, and when we are talking about switches, you will hear it a lot of times, especially if you will be approaching networking. You will think about the switch, and when you will think about the switch, you will straight away think about ASICs. That is specifically designed for packet forwarding and storing the MAC address table. This memory is optimized for these networking tasks. And you know for yourself, the switches is forwarding data between different networking devices which are connected to it, for example between different computers or router and different computers in local area network based on MAC addresses, and this MAC address table is stored in the switch itself. Which of the following is common type of port used for connecting a docking station to a modern laptop for expanding its connectivity? VGA, Ethernet or RJ45. Like I was mentioning, when you hear a word Ethernet, you straight away think about wires, about cables, about wired network, as Ethernet is cables or internet transferred through cables. Or when we are talking about Wi-Fi, this means that internet is transferred through Wi-Fi, or this is our wireless internet. So Ethernet and Wi-Fi, two different things when internet is being transferred wirelessly. HDMI, USB Type A, USB-C, Thunderbolt or DisplayPort Alt mode. And here you should also know about Thunderbolt, as Thunderbolt is not a connector type, or it is not a wire or cable type. It is a technology which is being transferred through some particular cable. And audio jack 3.5 mm. So which one is the correct answer here? And here the correct answer is USB-C, as through USB-C you can transfer different data types, and one of them is also a Thunderbolt, as modern laptops often connect to docking stations via USB-C port that supports Thunderbolt. As you can see, that supports Thunderbolt or DisplayPort alternate mode. And I am just highlighting these things, as I understand that many of you who would be taking this type of test, and these things will be asked in CompTIA Plus Core 1 exam. So these interfaces provide high bandwidths along the docking station to offer multiple video outputs, USB ports, Ethernet and other connectivity options through a single connection. This is when we are talking about USB-C. And next question, a technician needs to configure a wireless access point or AP. As you know, wireless access points are also known as AP or simply access point to provide basic internet access. Which of the following setting is minimally required? MAC address filtering, SSID or SSIDs are also network names which you see whenever you are opening, for example, your Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi connect or your internet connections. You would see this SSID if you would want to select some network provider to which, or network name to which you would want to connect. QoS, quality of service, static IP address for the AP access point. Remember AP access point, or also known as WAP or wireless access point. Firewall rules or VPN configuration. And which one is the correct answer here? And here the correct answer, as we look at the question again, a technician needs to configure wireless access point IP to provide basic internet access. Which of the following setting is minimally required? And minimally is required SSID network name, as the SSID or service set identifier or network name is essential for wireless clients to be able to see and connect to the wireless access point. Which of the following is common type of port used for connecting legacy joystick or gamepad to an older desktop computer? USB Type A, PS/2, serial port or DB9, game port or DB15, VGA, or audio jack. And here we are talking about some legacy joystick or gamepad, as you can see here, guys. So for legacy we would be using game port DB9, as older joysticks and gamepads connect to a computers using a game port, typically a DB15 connector. Sorry guys, DB15, not DB9, DB15 connectors. This interface was common before USB became the standard for gaming peripherals. And as you know, currently we are using everything pretty much on USB. Even charging you can also do by using USB. So you can use USB for data transfer and also for charging of different devices. And next question. A technician is asked to troubleshoot a computer that restarts unexpectedly. So you have a computer and it for some reason restarts unexpectedly. Which of the following is the most likely hardware cause? So think of computers that starts unexpectedly. So which is the most common or most likely hardware cause? As this is specifically asking about hardware cause. A software application with memory leaks. And here you can see straight away that this answer is not and will never be correct, because it straight away is talking about software application. This is not talking about hardware, where question asked likely hardware cause. Outdated graphics card drivers. When we are talking about drivers, that is also not a hardware. Insufficient hard drive space, a failing power supply unit, PSU, fragmented system files, or virus infection. And here the correct answer is a failing power supply unit. And here you can say straight away see that from question we were searching for hardware cause, and the only hardware pretty much here was a failing power supply unit or PSU, which is pretty much your electricity box in your computer, whatever computer that would be. And a failing power supply unit, PSU, is common cause of unexpected system restarts due to its inability to provide stable and consistent power to the computer's components. So if PSU is not providing consistent power supply, obviously that would cause some problems in our system or in our computer. Which of the following is common type of port used for connecting a high-end webcam to a computer for streaming high-resolution video? And here we are talking about high-end webcam. So straight away, if you have experience in your life to connecting a web camera to your computer, then you would straight away know the answer to this question. And here we are talking about VGA, HDMI, Ethernet RJ45, PS2, USB 3.0 or higher, or audio jack 3.5 mm. And usually when it comes to web cameras, external web cameras, which we would want to connect even to our laptop or to our computer, then you would straight away think what connectors you have on your computer, even if that would be a laptop, and obviously you have a USB connector. So the correct answer here would be USB 3.0 or higher. 3.0, that's because it is a high-end web camera, as 2.0 wouldn't work in this scenario. As 3.0 USB, you should also know how much data transfer it has. It has, I believe, 5 gigabits per second data transfer, where, for example, USB 2.0, we have only 480 megabits per second, as far as I remember, transfer speed. So that would be good enough, and the higher we would have USB 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, the higher data transfer we would be able to transfer through it. The explanation: higher resolution webcams often use USB 3.0 or higher ports to transfer the large amounts of video data to the computer at high speeds, ensuring smooth streaming. And next question. A user wants to connect a pair of wired headphones with USB connector to their smartphone, which only has a USB-C port. So that's that small USB type, which is USB-C. Which type of adapter is required? USB-A to USB-A adapter, USB-C to USB-C adapter. So you see, USB-C doesn't work to USB-C doesn't work, because on one end we have only USB, and on other end we have USB-C port. This is connector, this is port. And USB-A to USB-B adapter, USB-A to USB-C adapter, HDMI to USB adapter, or Ethernet to USB adapter. So which one would be the correct answer here? The correct answer here would be USB-A to USB-C adapter. A USB-A to USB-C adapter will allow a USB-A connector of the headphones to be plugged into the USB-C port of the smartphone, enabling audio output. Which of the following is common type of memory used in network interface cards or NICs for buffering incoming and outgoing data packets? DDR4 RAM, SODIMM, SRAM, flash memory, EEPROM, or DIMM? And here the correct answer is SRAM. As SRAM, static random access memory, is often integrated into NICs or network interface cards to provide a fast buffer for temporarily storing incoming and outgoing network packets, helping to manage data flow and prevent data loss due to speed mismatch. Which of the following is used to logically separate network traffic in switch without requiring separate physical devices? And here again, when we are approaching a question, which one of the following is used to logically separate network traffic? So here we are talking about logical network traffic separation in switch. So how we would do it without requiring separate physical device? And that separate physical device would be, or could be, a router, for example. But how we would do it without any separate device? Proxy, subnetting, VPN, NAT, VLAN, or firewall rules. And here the correct answer is VLAN, as we can separate or create different subnets on one switch, which is called virtual local area networking or virtual local area networks, where on one switch we could have different types of subnets, but they would be logically separated on the same switch. That's why we call it VLAN or virtual local area network. But there is also such thing as subnetting, and subnetting would be if we would do pretty much the same, divide the same type of network into many smaller networks, networks, but by using a separate physical device, which would be a router. So a virtual local area network, or VLAN, allows administrators to logically segment network traffic on the same physical switch, improving security and traffic management. A laser printer is producing pages with vertical streaks. Which of the following components is the most likely causing the issue? Fuser, so you also need to know for your CompTIA Plus Core 1 exam all about especially laser printers. So here is fuser, toner cartridge, transfer belt, pickup roller, paper tray, or duplexer. So which one would be the correct answer here? And here, if we are talking about vertical streaks, that is most likely toner cartridge. Yes, and vertical streaks on printed pages are commonly caused by defective or leaking toner cartridge, which fails to distribute toner evenly on the drum. Which of the following display technologies uses organic compounds that emit light when the current passes through them? LCD, LED, OLED, plasma, CRT, or DLP? And here the correct answer is OLED, as organic light emitting diode or OLED displays use organic compounds that emit light when energized, allowing for deep blacks, high contrast, and no need for backlight. A company wants to implement a solution that allows employees to securely access a corporate network from home. Which of the following technologies best meets this requirement? NAT, VPN, QoS, MAC filtering, port forwarding, or proxy server? And here the correct answer is VPN, as you can create a VPN and users or employees can use VPN to connect directly to a corporate network, as a virtual private network or VPN creates a secure encrypted connection between the employee's device and the corporate network, allowing a remote access while protecting data. A technician is replacing a faulty power supply in a desktop PC. Which of the following components connects directly to the power supply? So, which is connecting directly to power supply on your PC or personal computer? CPU, RAM, motherboard, mouse, keyboard, or monitor? So if we look at CPU, this is not directly connected to the power supply. RAM or random access memory is also not directly connecting to power supply, as it is connecting into the motherboard slot, and motherboard is most likely the correct answer, as we connect power supply to the motherboard. By using there is older motherboards and newer motherboards, and older motherboards were used to have 20 pin, and the latest motherboards have 24 pin ATX connectors. The motherboard connects directly to a power supply via 24 pin ATX connector and additional 8 pin connectors to power the CPU and other components. And like I mentioned, you might also on CompTIA Plus exam be asked about another older, if for example you would have an older motherboard where is only 20 pin ATX connector, you should know that you can use the same connector, which is 24 pin connector, to connect this 24 pin connector into the 20 pin connector, and 4 pins would be pretty much hanging in the air. And you can also power up motherboard with 20 pin ports with this 24 pin ATX connector. That is just if that question comes up in your CompTIA Plus exam, as there are still motherboards which has 20 pin. Which of the following wireless security protocols is considered the most secure for modern enterprise networks? And here we again are talking about wireless, this means Wi-Fi, and for security protocols, which you would set up on your router, on your home router. Web, VPA, VPA2, VPA3, TKIP, or V or WPS. And here the correct answer is logically VPA3, as VPA3 is the most secure wireless security protocol currently available, offering stronger encryption and protections against brute force attacks compared to VPA2 and earlier protocols. Which of the following would best describe the function of hypervisor in a virtualized environment? And here we are talking about hypervisor. As you remember, earlier on I told you that there are two main types of hypervisors. One is type 1 hypervisor and another one is type 2 hypervisors. And here is the question is asking which is best describes the function of hypervisor in a virtualized environment. It encrypts data for secure storage. It provides IP addresses to virtual machines. It manages and allocates resources among virtual machines. It acts as a firewall between virtual machines. It serves as backup system for virtual machines. It performs antivirus scanning on virtual machines. And here the correct answer is that it manages and allocates resources among virtual machines. As a hypervisor is responsible for managing virtual machines and allocating system resources like CPU, memory, and storage to them within a virtualized environment. Which of the following network devices is used to separate collision domains but still share the same broadcast domain? Router, switch, hub, firewall, access point, or repeater? And here the correct answer, you should straight away know the answer to this. This is a switch, as switch separates collision domains, and collision domains, this is simply a different, you could think about different network types for each connected device, but still operates within the same broadcast domain unless VLANs are configured. And here is about VLANs, we are returning back to VLANs. This means that, for example, devices, again I'm coming back because some of you at the start might not understand fully what is VLANs. This means that on one switch we can connect different networks and we can separate fully those networks. For example, on one switch we could have one network for devices which are in one classroom, and on the same switch we could have devices or ports dedicated to the devices which are in the other classroom. But these two VLANs would be completely separate, but they would be configured on the same switch. And next question. A user reports that their computer's clock keeps resetting to an incorrect time after every shutdown. Which component is the most likely causing this issue? And here you should also understand straight away is the answer of this question. Hard drive, CMOS battery, motherboard chipset, power supply, system fan, or RAM module. And here the most correct answer is CMOS battery, as this is the only one which is related directly to the time when computer shuts down, as this is the only thing which is responsible for the system time on your computer, and if the CMOS battery goes down, this would cause problems with your system time or with your computer time on your computer. So it can keep up a system time for rather long. So CMOS battery, the CMOS battery powers the system's real-time clock or RTC, which is real-time clock, RTC, and stores BIOS settings. When the computer is powered off, if the battery fails, the clock and BIOS settings will reset. And next question, which of the following is common type of memory used in network security appliances for storing the firmware and operating system? So which one of the following is a common type of memory? so which memory type, is used in network security appliances for storing the firmware and operating system. DDR4, SODIMM, SRAM, flash memory, EEPROM or DIMM. And here the correct answer is flash memory, as flash memory is non-volatile storage medium suitable for storing the firmware and operating system in network security appliances, as this software needs to be persistent and loadable upon boot. Which of the following is common type of cable used to connect a network switch to a router for internet access? USB cable, HDMI cable, RJ11 cable, RJ45 cable, power cable, or VGA cable. So, and in 90% of cases, when it will come to networking, when it will come to connecting routers, when it will come to connecting switch to routers, switch to switch, we will be using RJ45 cable, as network switches connect to a router using RJ45 Ethernet cables, and here again Ethernet cables. What in this lesson or in this video I am highlighting this as many, as for example, if someone doesn't know it, I just want you to see this in your mind, that Ethernet is everything what is to do with these RJ45 cables, and these are Ethernet cables because internet is being transferred through cables, through Ethernet. Provided internet access to the devices on the local network, the router acts as the gateway to the internet. And always all devices in some network, for example in your house, they are connected to the router, and a router is connecting your all devices to the internet, and it has one gateway address, as in a network on your router there is only one gateway address, or that is IP address, which is a gateway address, and which is for you or for devices in that network in your apartment, for example, to connect to that router. And from the other side of the same router there is another IP address, which is your public IP address. This is the address which other people see. For example, if you are connecting to some other device outside your network, outside your apartment on the internet, it will see your public address, not your gateway IP address, and that is from the outside of your router. Again, I'm getting into the networking, so let's get into the next question. A technician is asked to troubleshoot a laptop that is not displaying anything on the screen, even though the power light is on. What is the most likely hardware cause? A software application draining the battery, an outdated operating system, a faulty AC adapter, a failing hard drive, a corrupted hard drive, a problem with the display or graphics card. Which would be the correct answer here? And the correct answer here is a problem with the display or graphics card, as if the power light is on but the screen remains black, the most likely hardware cause is a problem with the display, LCD panel, backlight, or the graphics card GPU, graphics processing unit, preventing an image from appearing. Which of the following is common type of port used for connecting a barcode scanner to a computer for retail or inventory management? VGA, HDMI, Ethernet, again Ethernet, RJ45, USB Type A, PS/2, or audio jack 3.5mm. And here the correct answer is USB Type A, as barcode scanners typically connect to a computer via USB Type A port to transfer the scanned barcode data. This is the standard interface for most barcode scanners used in retail and inventory management. Which of the following is common symptom of failing or misconfigured DNS server on a network? So again, let's read the question. Which of the following is common symptom? So we are talking about common symptom of failing or misconfigured DNS or domain name system server on a network. Slow internet browsing speeds, nothing to do with DNS, as DNS or domain name system server has nothing to do with your internet speed. Inability to resolve the domain names, most likely. Workstation receiving a PIPA or API-IP address, which starts always with 169.254. And you should also know about what a PIPA address is for your CompTIA Plus Core 1 exam. Frequent disconnection from the wireless network. Slow file transfer speeds on the local network. Or printer showing as offline. And here we already discovered which is correct answer, as which of the following common symptoms is failing misconfigured DNS when we are having a problem with domain name system or domain name system server on a network, then it is most likely inability to resolve the domain names, as the DNS or main functionality or main feature or main idea of domain name system or DNS server is to translate domain names like Google to IP addresses. As Google has a different IP address, we are using DNS or domain name system servers to translate them so it is easier for people to understand rather than IP addresses, but some names like Google, Facebook or any other domain names, and that information is being stored in DNS servers or domain name system servers. So if inability to resolve domain names, this is to do with DNS. And correct answer, we already talked, is if a DNS or domain name system server is failing or misconfigured, clients on the network will be unable to translate domain names like Google into IP addresses. Like I mentioned, main purpose of DNS is to translate domain names into IP addresses, and vice versa, and other way around, IP addresses into domain names, resulting in the inability to access websites or other internet resources by name. A technician is asked to upgrade the storage in a server that requires high sequential read-write speeds for video editing. Which type of storage would be the best choice? High capacity SATA hard drive in RAID 5, large capacity tape drive, SAS or serial attached SCSI, SCSI, hard drives in RAID 10, high capacity SATA solid state drives SSDs in RAID 5, NVMe non-volatile memory express SSDs in RAID 0 or 10, or external USB hard drives. Which would be the best solution here? And the best one would be NVMe, non-volatile memory express SSDs in RAID 0 or 10. As NVMe SSDs, especially in RAID 0 striping or RAID 10 mirroring and striping configurations, offer the highest sequential read-write speeds, making them ideal for video editing, which requires fast access to large video files. And next question is, which of the following is common type of port used for connecting a touchscreen monitor to point of sale system? BGA, HDMI, Ethernet or again RJ45, PS2, USB Type-A, audio jack 3.5mm. And here the correct answer would be USB Type-A, as when it comes to touchscreen monitors used in POS or point of sale systems typically connect to the terminal or computer via USB Type-A port to transmit the touch input data. A separate video connection, HDMI VGA DisplayPort, is used for the display signal. A technician is asked to perform data recovery from a hard drive that is no longer recognized by the operating system. Which of the following should be attempted first? Connecting the drive to a different computer, opening the drive's enclosure in clean room, running check disk or other file system repair tools, replacing the driver's logic board, using specialized data recovery software, or sending the drive to a professional data recovery service. And here the correct answer is connecting the drive to a different computer. As the first step in attempting data recovery from a drive that is not recognized is to connect it to different computer. No point straight away starting to panicking, but you take the drive and you simply connect or try to connect it to different computer and try to read that information. And this helps determine if the issue is with the original computer's hardware or drive itself. And next question, which of the following is common type of port used for connecting a touchscreen monitor to a computer for both display and touch input? VGA, HDMI, Ethernet or RJ45, USB Type-A, PS/2, or audio jack 3.5mm. And here the correct answer is USB Type-A. As touchscreen monitors typically use a USB Type-A port to transmit the touch input data back to the computer. In addition to a video connection, HDMI VGA display port for the display signal. Some newer monitors might use USB-C for both. Which of the following is common symptom of a failing or incorrectly configured hard drive in laptop computer? So, which one is the common symptom of failing or incorrectly configured hard drive in a computer or laptop? The screen flickering, battery not charging, the laptop powers on but display an error message about missing operating system, the touchpad becoming unresponsive, the Wi-Fi connection dropping frequently, or the internet fan running constantly at a high speed. And here all these other answers pretty much has nothing to do with this question, and the only correct one is that laptop powers on but displays an error message about missing operating system, which is most likely stored in this hard drive, but this is incorrectly configured. As if the laptop powers on but displays an error message indicating that the operating system cannot be found or is missing, this typically points to a problem with the hard drive, or for example with SSD, such as failure of corruption that prevents the system from booting. A user wants to connect a set of professional audio headphones with 1/4-inch jack to their computer, which only has a 3.5mm audio output jack. Which type of adapter is required? 3.5mm to USB adapter, 1/4-inch to USB adapter, 3.5mm to Ethernet adapter, 3.5mm to 1/4-inch adapter, USB to 1/4-inch adapter, or HDMI to 1/4-inch adapter. Which one is the correct answer? And here the correct answer is 3.5mm to 1/4-inch adapter, as a 3.5mm to 1/4-inch adapter will allow the user to connect the larger 1/4-inch jack of the headphones to the smaller 3.5mm jack on the computer. And yes guys, this is it on this test, and like I mentioned, if you are interested to take 730 questions, you can go to my Udemy course where I have 6 different practice exams. And if you found this video useful, leave a like, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and see you in the next one.